Hello and welcome back to the PR show, A Strong Opinion in a Strong Voice. Today, I have my wonderful special guest, Solomon, all the way from Rhode Island.
Hi, how are you?
Tell us about yourself.
Oh, well, it started as, well, I grew up in church basically. After I was born early 2001. So by the time of 9/11, my parents had actually shifted a lot in their faith and their beliefs, and they started to pursue God as a lifestyle. That became their life, to pursue God. So growing up, I was always in church and Bible study. I was always, in that atmosphere, which also I appreciate my parents for pursuing God, because it was very easy for me. I didn't have to find God on my own. I grew up in a house where God was always there. So I accepted Jesus at a very early age. I remember by the time I was 4, I was ecstatic I was so happy to be a Christian, because I guess I had an understanding at that time of what he was. And I was happy that I had finally seen him again and I was with him. But then over time, Christianity kind of it was a bad rap. It wasn't what it seemed to be, and people weren't as they seemed to be. And so
more of a religion, or just
the religion,
the
mindsets. I remember going to Bible studies, and they would sing songs singing about, purify our hearts, Lord, purify us. We're wretches and we're so low. Very religious setting. My parents, they went through all the different phases of religion before we were acquainted with Christ Love Ministries here. But so my life was basically going from church to church, having home churches, having people come, missionaries come, staying at our house along their way to go and preach the gospel and things. And so I've seen all sorts of different people, from a really, really structured Christians to very erratic ones.
Like charismatic and things like that.
Charismatic, then there's the doom preachers saying how, oh, you're going to go to hell if you don't accept Jesus Christ today. They follow the script books. If you were to go to hell, if you were to die right now, would you know where you're going to go? The traditional missionary or evangelistic kind of structure. So I
assume many people do get saved that way. They may not stay because of the doom and gloom, but I wouldn't. In me personally, I wouldn't discount anyone who preaches that way, but that's not also not my style.
I agree. Because I
did meet people who got saved this way, and I was surprised too, because I have a similar background to yours, in a sense that I grew up in a Christian family, but I wasn't threatened with hell necessarily. Well, but I imagine many people did, and they got saved that way. So it's like, whatever.
Well, I became how do I say? I became a kind of like an advocate of that kind of talk in school, like growing up and going to middle school, because I was homeschooled for the first half of my schooling. And the second half of my schooling, I was actually I went to public school. So I hadn't had friends for the first part of my schooling. And so when I finally was able to go to public school and see other kids my age, the first thing I wanted to do was save them all, and because I didn't want them to go to hell. And so I would say, you need to accept Jesus or else you're going to go to hell. And, it didn't really turn out the right way. People were like, okay, you're freaky. You're crazy. Right. It was very off-putting. And then I realized that, oh, wait, you can't necessarily, that's not how you bring someone to have a good relationship with
Sometimes
God.
it's better to lead by example, isn't it?
Right. And so because I was so worried about them, I didn't get to be a good example. I didn't choose to be a good example in my school. So that's what ended up happening. And then I realized, oh wait, no, I have to like you said, be a good example. Why would you want to become a Christian? Why would you want to be saved? What are the benefits? What are the visible benefits, regardless of the spiritual aspects? Because in this world, a lot of people are practical, which is the right way to be.
I think it's a good thing. God, Jesus was practical, very practical.
Of course, very practical.
He always asks people what they want him to do for them, as opposed to just, you know what, today you have to be in paradise because otherwise hell is waiting for you. So what do you want me to do for you? So it's very practical. It's a good thing.
And that it is. And so growing up, I went through certain different phases, and then other phases of my walk, I started getting fed up with the Christianity that I knew, because I didn't see the practicality in it. It was very spiritual.
It's more like spiritual, yeah. No earthly good.
My church was full of old people. I was the youngest one there. And they were, I was in that church for over 10 years.
Wow.
And no one advanced, no one changed. It was the same old thing, except for more people had more.
Sounds like very much religious.
Very, very religious. But the thing is that they claimed that they were unreligious. They were like non-denominational, that they didn't believe in religion, that they were, they were the ones. They were the ones.
They weren't the religious ones, but we are still religious. So.
Right.
I think really, maybe we should define for the audience what religious is.
I agree.
Yeah. When we talk about, and then you can say how you think of it. Yeah. What I mean by religious is, obviously you can be, just as you said, you can be non-denominational yet still be religious. What we mean by this is there's no life.
That's
there's no life in you. There's no practicality aspect. It always seems to be complicated and mysterious. God doesn't really speak directly to you, or if he does, that's a rare occasion. And just basically there's no life, there's no practicality, there's no joy. Isn't that so?
Right. That's
One of the
true.
hallmarks of religious people, even those who don't claim to be religious or claim not to be religious, to me it seems, is the level of joy is just so down.
Right. And I agree with that completely. I think with religion, what we see as religion today is a man's way of trying to understand God.
Yeah.
And they try
and a lot of works, isn't it? A lot of works, like
it's a lot of there's works. There's a lot of rituals and a lot of rules made
like
by
if you
man.
don't pray for like hours every day, then you're just as bad as going to hell. And it's like
some religions,
you do something for
some religions follow the example of some men of God in the Bible, or women of God in the Bible, like how you said how you have to pray so many times a day. Daniel prayed 3 times a day. So if you don't pray 3 times a day, then you're sinning. Or if you fall off the mark, like if you fall off the wagon and don't follow one of the rules, you technically you ruin all. You're not you don't pass any of them. So with religion, it's hard to have forgiveness or grace. There's not many chances where you can have grace. But in my church that I came out of, these people, they didn't dare to see the works that we see here in Christ Love Ministries, or that I have seen being part of this ministry. They didn't go out. So they had all this good news and they knew the Bible. They would be able to teach and give good teaching. But what people did was they left it inside of themselves and never took it out to people. So they made good news, not news at all. And I believe that's one of the most toxic things that somebody could do, because I understand now you're responsible for what you know. And if you know something that can save somebody out of a hard time or out of despair, and you don't share it, you're just as responsible.
Yes, because the Bible talks about if you know how to do good or what to do and you don't do it, to you it's sin, isn't it?
Right.
It's like sin by omission, isn't it?
Right. And it will eat. But the thing is that having good news and not spreading it is like living in a swamp. Nothing's moving and it stays stagnant. And we all know swamps. There's no life in a swamp. You end up kind of like eating yourself from the inside out. And
that's a good picture.
And so what ended up happening, I realized years going on, some of these people that were at the church here, in the church I came from, they started getting sick. They started having ailments. They started getting having problems. And what ended up happening is that the hope that they now had became hopeless. because they did not deliver it to people. So how would they even receive if they can't even deliver, if they can't give? Because we are givers of life. We are the salt of the earth. We understand that from what the scriptures tell us, from what the word of God shares with us. And if you don't own up to your nature, if you don't do what's natural for you to do, then you step out of it. And that's the problem here that I've seen with a lot of churches, my own that I came from included. But they're all beautiful people, right? They're all beautiful people, but I started realizing that when people get set in their ways and do not look back to the word afresh, time after time after time, if they cannot do that, then they can never be delivered from whatever they're in bondage of. And that's really a sad thing. I've seen that with just people's mindsets, whether it's a church or it's a single person. And I have many stories to share about those things. But as to how I was saved, I was saved from an early age, and it kind of felt like my relationship with God was always like going down a lazy river. I just ended up being at the right place at the right time, and I didn't have to work. I didn't have to work for it. And so when people would ask me, oh, well, what's your testimony? Like, what is your testimony? I'm like, oh yeah, I just ended up here, And they're like, well, what does that mean? Like, did you go through anything? Were you at any like near-death experiences?
Oh gosh,
like, oh.
You don't have to be at the bricks of, I don't know, disaster to,
right.
Really. A lot of people are, I'm the same way. I grew up in a Christian family. My family is, back how many generations have been born again believers, spirit filled. So I don't have too much testimony in that respect to share. But that doesn't mean that I live the kind of life always what I'm supposed to. So you yourself could have chosen many different paths, along the way, and yet you stayed. So that I think is just as much noteworthy and worthy of praise as someone who goes through hell and at like a last resort would come to Jesus. So let's not discourage the audience. If you were born in a Christian family, it's okay.
That's definitely
as long as
okay.
you stay Christian.
And inside of that, I actually realized that just because I was born inside of a Christian family and that believed in God already didn't mean that I already had it all. I meant that I had the opportunity to access those things, but I myself had to go and discover what it is that my family had discovered, or what was inside of this life for me. It wasn't just it was available to me, but I had to go myself and access it.
That's right.
And I realized that even later on in my journey that, hey, it's about making a discovery of what's inside of you. Because
God
when you
doesn't have grandchildren; He has children.
Right. Yes,
not
exactly.
By proxy. It's you have to have your own personal relationship. So
that's correct. Yeah, and when I found my own personal relationship with Jesus, everything that I had been sitting in church for or been so bored about, it just came to life. It was like because when I was a kid, I was like, why am I here? I don't need this. I don't, I'm a kid. Like what problems do I have right now? And over time I started seeing the same old thing. And when I would have problems, the Bible just would never help me. I couldn't see it the way that I should have been seeing it. I couldn't look at things afresh because I've been watching this stuff time after time after time.
It almost became like a given.
Right. And I remember even watching I remember the first time I watched The Passion of the Christ, if you've seen that movie from Mel Gibson. Beautiful movie. I love it. But the first time I watched it, it was kind of like, yeah. He paid for my sins. Great. That's great. Yeah. The whole way through watching the movie, it never
touched you. Wow.
It didn't touch me. Right. And I watched it. I was like, that's a sad movie, but okay. Carried on with my life. And
we don't watch these movies for information. We watch them to be impacted and touched and realize that He has done it all for you personally.
Exactly. And I was maybe 13 or 14 around when I watched that. And there's people because we watched it at a church, and there was people that are crying and other things, and I'm not crying, and I'm like, maybe it's, I don't know I didn't know what it was. So I just continued on with my life. But it was only up until actually recently where I watched it again, right? And I watched it again, and it touched me, and it touched me very significantly, because now I realized that he did all this for it could have just been for just me. He would have done the same thing and more. And then he told me that, oh wait, this is the life that you're living. It's my life. This is my life, and you're the one living it. So let me be Jesus in your life. So it's basically Jesus' life in Solomon, right? So I loved that. And so whenever I go out or when I walk around, I realize that no, it's not just Solomon here. This is Jesus in Solomon's life, living in this day right now through me. And I can be an impact to people. I can impact people the way Jesus would. I can do things the way Jesus did and greater, just because the scriptures say the same. I can do these things because I have his life in me, and I don't have to think about it. I don't have to stress about it. I just have to flow. And that's the life that I've been given. And I realized that today. So I'm part of Christ Love Ministries, for all those that haven't been, that don't know me, or are just watching for the first time. And so right now, currently, I run with the media. You know that. And
but yes, but you're talking to a lot of people now.
yes, you understand.
For
So
the audience,
I'm
you might want to say who you are.
I'm one of the media people in this ministry, that Christ Love Ministries International, at the current time. And one of the greatest things I realized being part of this ministry is just because you have that life to give, that you can speak to people. You have to understand that there's a place and that there's a time for everything, so when we're going around the world and we're doing things, I have to remain true to my duty and my job. My job is to capture the miracles that are happening with Dr. Charles and Ndifon.
Like
right?
Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. You are
like
recording the living gospel. So that's wonderful and very, very important.
A very important thing. I can't get all felt. I
used to do your job, so I know exactly. I did it for many years.
yeah, and you understand that it's about telling the story for many more to watch, or many more to see that perspective.
The gospel would have if Jesus was coming today, then he would be recording it on camera. Definitely, because he would use everything that is available. Now, how much better we would be off, how much better off we would be, so to speak, if he would have all these things on footage, on actual videos, everything that happened to him. I don't know if it would be good or bad, but I mean, just to think about it, just for the people out there who are watching, just think about it, I think many people don't even dare to think about it, because it almost sounds like sacrilegion. But God would use whatever tools he has at a certain age. I mean, he knew about cameras because he wasn't just, full of earthly knowledge. He would know all these things came from heaven, and he came from heaven, obviously. So they did. But at the time, the era was not ready for it. So he couldn't be walking around with a camera. So he had to have people write it down. Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John.
Of it, yeah.
So now we have you, Solomon, and you are actually recording it on cameras.
Exactly. And I get to see the amazing works that Jesus is doing today through various different people. It could be Apostle Dr. Charles. It could be another man or woman of God. But we have been able to take account of these things. And it's good to make account of the things that we see in our day. You get to see everything. You know this in the audience. If you watch the videos that we publish, or see some of the videos online of any different kind of ministry of people getting healed or saved, we get to take account of the miracles that happen.
I'm going to put the link below to Apostles' videos so people can watch it and they can see it for themselves, because thank God now we have the camera and all these wonderful opportunities, thanks to you mostly, and all the people who have been recording all those shows before you came along. And you guys can go out and watch it at your own time, at your leisure, and just share it with whoever you want to share it with, because it blesses you.
It blesses people, and it emboldens people to actually be able to do the same. They realize, oh wait, I can do the same thing, and you can go out and help people as well. And that's honestly, that's one of my greatest joys, is to see people free, to help people break off whatever chain it is that they're being held back by, whether it's being timid or scared or sick or whatever it could be. to see someone break free, that moment of freedom, it's just the most priceless thing that you can ever see, is someone break free. And when you catch that on camera, you catch it forever.
That's
and you,
right.
you can show it to many people.
That's
and they
right.
say, oh, it's the same thing for you. And if I could share a story, if that's fine, a quick story. When I was in, we just had a crusade in East Africa last year. And we went to several different countries, but in Kenya, we were there for about a few weeks, and we had our Festival of Miracles there in Nairobi. And there was a lady that, actually, we have the video of this one, that she was completely healed instantaneously from a hernia. She had a hernia, and she came up on the stage, and Apostle Charles Ndifon was there. Dr. Charles Ndifon was there, and he basically asked her what the problem was, and she said, well, I've been having so much pain. I have a hernia. I need to go to the doctor, so on, so on. And he says, would you like to be healed? And she says, yes. And so he just drew a line with his foot, and I'm recording him behind his shoulder, and I get to see this. And he draws a line with his foot, and he says, okay, just walk across the line. And she walked across the line, and he says, okay, now check the pain. And she starts, checking the pain. And all of a sudden you can see it. She's just set free. She says, oh my gosh, it's gone, right? And she starts jumping. She starts screaming, crying, running around. She's hysterical. And everyone goes wild. The crowd goes wild. It was such a high energy moment, because you saw freedom in a moment.
God in action.
Yes, exactly. And I realized that that's how it's supposed to be all the time.
Yes.
People are supposed to have that instantaneous freedom just like that. But also, one thing that that people need to understand is that you have to expect it. If you don't expect it, then you will never get it. You won't get your miracle unless you expect it, and if you're hungry for it. I've seen it where people have come from far and all over with whatever they had in their wallet, or whatever they could do to get here, or to see the man of God, or to see somebody that they knew would be their deliverance would be there with that person. They came and they got instantaneously healed. And I've watched it many times. I've seen so many different miracles happen right in front of my own two eyes. Yeah. I've seen people get healed instantaneously, and I've seen people get healed in a few days. Yeah, and I realized that it's your belief. It's by your belief that you're made whole. It's by your faith. And when you have the faith, when you say, surely I will be healed because I can see, then you're healed. And that's the
because your expectation is your faith.
That's right.
Is your expectation. It does not so much what you say, but what you really expect. Just like what you said, if you come with faith, if you come with hunger, God honors the hunger. God honors your faith. He doesn't honor your tears. He's not going to help you because you cried so much, or because you fasted so much. Fasting and prayer gets you in the situation where you can hear God clearly. But you don't have to fast and pray for healing, because it's readily made available, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Everyone. 100%. So you don't 100%. Have to beg for it.
Yeah, but you know what? I have to say that every miracle is unique. Every single one. They don't get
never gets old. Never gets old.
You wouldn't sit there and be like, yeah, I've seen that one before. No, it's like, because
if you ever find yourself in that place where you think it's old, or you just have this, whatever, you take it for granted, you should be out of the ministry, isn't it?
You need some time to
keep your heart fresh.
Yeah, you gotta take some time to get back into the Word and to rediscover what the good news is, because the thing is that good news is good for even those that already have good news, quote unquote. Yeah. If you can win a lottery, you can do all these great things, the good news will still be better.
You have to always hear it fresh.
It's applicable.
That, as you said, it's the attitude of your heart, always.
Right. And that's why, like, there's so many things that, and when it comes to having a fresh heart, that you can talk about. You can talk about being thankful, being in communion, having good communication with your Father. All those different things, they help you have a tender heart. they share with you his heart. And then you can actually go ahead and feel what he feels and see what he sees and do what he does.
Keeps you humble, doesn't it?
Right. It keeps you humble.
Because it's a privilege. It's a privilege to help people. It's a privilege to be in a position where we can go out and help people. And that presupposes that we ourselves are not sick.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm sure you have experienced that, because you have talked about, how people in the old church that you used to go to got sick, but you never got sick because you were drinking of a different source. Right.
And when I made the transition to come to this ministry and I started seeing all I could see, I was so, I still am. I was so like excited, I'm like, oh my gosh, if only people could just get a hold of this, then they wouldn't have to go through the heartache. They wouldn't have to go through, they wouldn't have to perish on so many different accounts. And I even pleaded with some of these people that I had known before. Hey, I can help you. There's help for you. You can come and see the good news that God is doing, the good things, the new things that God is doing today. Because God is the same yesterday, today, and forever, but he's always doing new things.
That's right.
And when you can see that, then there's an excitement, and there's an internal excitement. I actually had a time when I was younger where I had I got very anxious because I couldn't see what God was doing in my day. And I figured, well, I'm going to die eventually. And yes, I know I'm going to go to heaven. But what if we run out of things to do? What if there are things that what if we run out of...
This never occurred to me that we would ever run out of things to do.
Right.
And this world is so good already that there's nothing else to improve.
Well, yeah. And well, the thing is, I figured, a spirit can only live. If you're living today, I had the thought, well, if you're living today, you cannot stop existing. There's no such thing as ending a life once it's started. Once it's started, it lives. That's right. And if you're, as we know, we are a spirit. So as a spirit, it's always here. So when you die, quote unquote, when your body goes away, you go home, but you stay alive. And the thing is that you continue living and living and living. That's and right. I figured, because I was thinking in a limited mindset. I was thinking, well, what if you run out of things to do while you're living, and then you just start existing? And I felt like God would just kind of put us up on a shelf to collect dust, And
I never heard that before. Okay.
It frightened me. It was like, I was like, I don't want to, because I was like, I don't want to be bored for eternity. That would be hell. And so simply, I was thinking this way for a long, long time. And I remember one night especially, I was again thinking about this, and God actually spoke to me directly. He told me, he said, I have created the universe, everything around you, to molecular detail, from as grand as you can see to less than you can even look at with your own naked eyes. I have done all of this in the matter of a snap. That's right. And I created the time that you're living in and you're thinking about. I've done all these different things. He basically said, he's like, don't you think I have this figured out? He's like, you need to, he said, your little brain cannot comprehend what I have in store for you. So relax, deal with the things that are in front of you today, and leave the future to me. And that gave me so much peace and so much clarity. It was like years of anxiety just went away in the matter of a second, just because I now understood the right perspective. I understood the right word, not my own thoughts, right? And that's where the Bible scripture, on all your ways, acknowledge him and he will direct your path. Lean not onto your own understanding. That is something that I live by daily. To not to lean on my own understanding, regardless of what I know, regardless of the miracles.
Not try to figure it out, is it?
I'm sorry?
Not try to figure it out.
Right. I'm not going to figure it out. I'm not going to use my own logic or intellect on things. I have my intellect to apply to the word, not to live off of. I don't
That's
lean
right.
onto my own understanding. So that's something I want to live by daily. So every day when I'm seeing different challenges here or there, I have my intellect. I say, okay, but then I take it to God. I say, okay, God, how should I, please direct me through this? How should I do this? Because I don't want to stray off the path. I do not want to find myself somewhere where I could simply be in a better place. If he's given me all things pertaining to life and godliness, why should I have to make these bad decisions here or here, when I can just look towards him? And that's really guided me a lot when it's come to this life. And that's probably one of the reasons why my life has been very simple, in retrospect, because I've been looking towards him in all things, not my emotions, not my not my different things. I love talking about emotions, because emotions are probably one of my least favorite things.
Yeah.
Because because today a lot of people are very emotional. They operate by their emotions, how they're feeling right now, how they're feeling, and they even translate their emotions to how God actually talks to them. And they say, well, I feel like God told me this, and I feel like, I feel that God said this. And I say, that's not enough. You can't just feel that he said it. You have to know. How do you
But
know that
also,
he's?
don't you think people are trying to be very cautious because
Yeah,
maybe they haven't really heard from God, so they would like
right.
to like preface it. Well, I think, or I feel, or it seems to
Yeah.
me, or yeah, isn't it? So it's
And
more like out of caution,
it's like they
precaution.
have a back door just in
Yeah.
case it
Oh
didn't
yes,
work.
maybe it was me. Maybe I didn't feel it well.
Yeah.
Maybe my
Yeah.
feelers are broke.
And it's important to not feel, but to know, to come to a place of knowing. I told somebody a little while ago, I told them that I'm not trying to be correct. I do not want to try to be correct. I want to be myself. Because if I can be myself, and I am wrong, then I can receive correction wholeheartedly. Then I can
Definitely.
turn around wholeheartedly, instead of trying to be this or trying to be that. Because then
I
at the
think
end
we
of the
always
day,
need to be in a position and in the attitude of learning or wanting to
yes,
learn, because of
yeah, and to be,
course we always ought to learn. I mean,
yeah,
today's ceiling should be tomorrow's floor, and
that's
so
right, that's
on,
right.
isn't it? So it's always it really is like, it's a matter of attitude, wouldn't you say?
It is very much so, very much about attitude, and from the place of knowing that you don't got it all figured out, and that's okay. You're not supposed to,
But the
as
point is, God does. And that's
God
that's
does.
that's what we have to keep telling ourselves if we have any doubts. I mean, I know you don't and I don't, but maybe some people out there do.
Right,
So you wanna just you look around and you see, I don't understand this, how about this, how about that? I want justice, we want freedom, we want all these things that has been promised to us and by right ours. But God has it all figured out, doesn't he? And that's what you want to remind yourself, and everybody who's out there doubting, you want to remind yourself, God has this all figured out. I don't have to figure it out. I don't have to solve like a country's problem or, certain things.
right.
I just have to focus on my life and the lives around me and the people God sends me to. And I don't have to figure it out. I just have to walk in the footsteps God already prepared for me. So that's what you're doing, right? So can
That's
you tell the
exactly right.
audience how you met Apostle Charles? Because I like when your father actually you have a
Okay,
funny
so
like
I'll tell my story about how I met Dr.
because I
Charles
want
and
the people to see, that God orders your steps.
yes,
I mean, yours, mine, and everybody's out there if you're open to it. So,
right,
you could have just stayed in your own comfortable church that went nowhere, but yet, you were going to heaven, at some point. But that
yeah,
wasn't enough for you and it wasn't enough for your parents. So God can bring people into our lives who will bring us to another level. So how did that
right.
happen?
So one thing that it started with my parents, and my dad had actually met Dr. Charles and Ndifon first. But one thing my dad would always tell us is that if you have good and you see better, then always go towards the better.
Yeah.
Never stay at this here. Because if there's something
Yeah.
better, then there's somewhere to progress. So
Good enough is not good enough.
right. And so my dad had actually gone to a church in New Tripoli, Pennsylvania, because one of his spiritual sons was performing at one of the at a church service or a church event there in New Tripoli, and he decided to go out and support him. He wasn't even supposed to be available to go and support, but he actually, something opened up and he was able to go. So he had gone there, and he invited some of the individuals from from the church I came from, and they actually went out to support him as well. This my father's spiritual son. So my dad got there, and he saw Apostle Charles get up on stage, look at his watch, and say, I don't really have time for this. He says there's 12 deaf people in the audience, or 12 to 20 or so deaf people in the audience that cannot hear in one or two of their ears. If that is you, come forward. So he didn't even preach a message. He just snapped his fingers and waved, and then all the people that were there that had deafness in their ears were completely healed instantaneously. And this was the first time my dad had ever seen something like this. And my dad was shocked.
It's for everybody, mostly everybody. Not everybody lives the kind of life we do. So
it's very,
everyone out there, these things happen just like that. You just have to be in the right place at the right time.
Right. And so my dad was shocked. He said, "What?" He's like, "What is this?" And it just kept on going like that. So there was other people with other ailments just getting healed, done. And my dad was like, my time has finally come, because my dad had actually been pursuing that life since 2001. Since that 2001, since the 9/11 incident, my dad had to do a whole turnaround on his own life to pursue God. And to pursue God with wholeheartedly. He wanted to see him. He wanted to find him. And he found him in Dr. Charles Ndifon. And so that night, my dad stopped Dr. Charles Ndifon from leaving, and he wanted to buy every single one of his books and products that he had brought with him. And so that's what he did. And he basically made
lesson here: if you find something good, invest in it.
Exactly.
In it, because you are investing in yourself. It's not about the money, it's about the life and revelation you are going to have through that man and woman of God. Right.
And so my dad bought every single one of his products. He got the name of the ministry. He got every information he could. He asked Dad 1.5 million questions.
That sounds like a hungry person.
he asked Apostle Charles 1.5 million questions, and so they were the last ones to leave the building at that night. And then that same night, my dad had gotten home, and he woke us all up. It was like 2:00 in the morning.
I love it.
And he says, "My time has come. My time has come." Right. And my mom's like,
sounds like your family had no choice.
No.
Said the chance, but thank God for someone so passionate in your family, because through that you were dragged into it, for better or for worse.
That's right. And my mom's like, "Honey, what's going on?" And he says, "My time has come. It's finally come." And she doesn't understand what's going on. And so he gets the kids up, so myself included, and he says, "What is it that you want?" And I say, "Well, I want a trampoline." He says, "You have it." And then
I can just see that.
Yeah. My dad was
someone has a very passionate father, so you guys need to understand that.
Yes. And so my father is on fire, and he basically shares with us what he can formulate within words that are understandable to us.
I need to invite him for my show. I need to invite him. Let him know that later on.
My father is a very, very, very good person to have on any talk show to sell you anything. He is the best salesman I actually know. Not because he's my father, but because he has a natural knack for it.
But it comes across even on the screen, so it's a really unique gift that he has.
Yes. So my father was just so excited, and I don't remember how the night ended, but I remember that night was the start of something new. And from then on, anytime that Dr. Charles would come to Pennsylvania, my family would come and support. And we would come and support. We'd meet him. We actually met Apostle Charles the next day, because Apostle Charles was there for, I think, a span of 2 days. So we got to meet him the next day. But anytime that he would come down, we'd come and help. And I remember one specific time that Apostle Charles came down. my brother and I, we wanted to help, and they said, oh, well, we have some extra cameras, that we could actually use some help with. And we got to, there were these little, just the little handheld cameras. And so they gave us each one, and my brother and I went and recorded. We didn't necessarily understand the rule of thirds, or keeping good headspace, or all the camera techniques that you learn here when you're actually doing camera work. And so we don't understand those things, but we wanted to serve, and we served wholeheartedly. And so we started running with the cameras and started helping with whatever it is that we could whenever Dr. Charles came down. And then one year we actually came up to the Power School of Miracles here in Rhode Island. And again, we offered our services because we had just been doing that anytime we had been around, and they put us on their bigger cameras, and they said, okay, so you do this and you do this, and we just served wholeheartedly. So now that was something that we just did. So from the time, I think it was 2014 that my dad had met Dr. Charles, by the time 2018 had hit, I had been going to the Power School of Miracles a few times now. And I decided that I wanted to serve here full time, and because I loved the atmosphere, I loved the life here, and I told God I never wanted to live another dull moment in life again. And when I was here, then my life was now full of action and colorful, and I was not living that dull life. So I said, I don't want to live another dull life again, dull moment again. And so I decided I want to serve here. I want to grow here, and I would like to serve and see what God has planned for me here in this place. And that's what I did. So after 2018, I graduated high school in 2019, and I came here at the end of 2019, or around August of 2019, and I started serving full time. And so that's how I've been here, part of the Christ Love Ministries International. And that's technically my story. It's been a very simple and easy. There's been no headaches in my story getting here, and I'm very grateful for that. Very grateful. And even now, my family, they're doing their own little home church in Pennsylvania now.
They started their own church.
They started their own church, and are ministering to people via they're making little videos, or having people come over for a service or things like that, to help encourage their new area that they had just moved to, and to be a light to people. Because I realized that there are many people that want to see the kingdom but cannot find it. And when you have a place established where the kingdom is there, then all they want to do is just be there. Just to learn and to grow and to invest. Like you said, when you find something good, you want to invest in it. Invest in that man or woman of God that is bringing the kingdom to you today. And that's really one of the beautiful things that is transpiring here. And because one of the things that we'd actually love to do, part of Christ Love Ministries, is to have a crusade around all the U.S. states, and to do a little tour around the whole U.S. And it's important for us to do that because there are many hurting people. And a lot of people would like that hope, to see the kingdom. And a lot of people would love to.
Kingdom in action. The kingdom in action, the kingdom in operation. That's what people need to see, but not only in the States, but everywhere in the world. Like, I live in Europe the same way,
Right.
People who, I think, less Christian or less inclined to be Christians than in the United States, because I used to.
I agree with that.
I think hardened of hearts. I mean, really, that's maybe not so much anymore because of all these things that happened the last few years. So maybe people are slowly and gradually turning. And I heard a lot of people are, actually turning, those who wouldn't have considered before. But all in all, Europe is not exactly Christian anymore, even though our foundations were Christian, which is a great blessing to have. Just like in the United States, the founding fathers were Christians, but we kind of seem to have derailed from there. But we are going back, and people, what they need to see, just like you said, the kingdom of God in action.
Right.
Jesus, who is personal, who is a person who speaks to you, who interacts with you, the Holy Spirit who leads you into all truth, the
That's right.
miracles left, right, and center, and not just you watching the miracles, but you are also performing them, right?
That's
You're
right.
also
That's right.
healing people yourself. With one hand you can hold the camera, and the other hand you can heal the sick. So you are not really.
It's very easy.
Isn't it?
That's one thing. That's one thing that Dr. Charles says. It's easy, and it is very easy when you come from the right place.
Right.
And when you have that right training to heal the sick, then there's no work that is actually involved. You just show up.
That's
and
right.
People are healed. And so that's one of the things that I've learned here, being part of the team of Christ Love Ministries, is that we are all equipped to heal the sick and to raise the dead and to do all those things, and also to record cameras and be good, to be good ushers, and to be good
technical. That's right.
And to be
I love cameras.
Yeah, and to be a good working body, because every good effort needs a good team. So we all need to come together and do what it is that makes our objective possible. And that's what I've learned even doing some of the crusades that we've been doing recently.
It's always an honor to serve where God placed you. And I so much like the story that, you could have gone to all kinds of directions, because you're a young man, of course. I mean, we're all young, but still, I mean, you were like right out of school. You could have gone into any kind of profession, but you choose to serve God because that was in your heart. And God honors that when you give yourself to him. So it's like you're like sowing yourself to him. You are reaping a wonderful harvest, and your life has completely turned around and changed. So I mean, you have to invest yourself into
and to that point, like you said, I could have done so many things. I realized that one of the things that I actually am passionate about, that I love doing, is I love coaching people in life. And I realized, well, how could I be a good life coach? How would somebody benefit from me if my life was terrible, or if I didn't have a good life? So I invest myself into the kingdom, because inside of the kingdom is the best life. And I can help people from the best point if I have a good life. So I cannot stray from that, because I know that there's a need for people to see that, hey, there's someone living a very good life, and I can do the same thing through that person's coaching. So that's one of the things that I also do as well, as I'm a life coach, and I help people be raised up in the right way, using the principles of the word and the principles of the kingdom into their life. They start to see changes and differences, and they say, well, wow, this is amazing. Why haven't I done this all this time? And that's the beautiful thing,
So no matter how old you are or how young you are, you can always help others, isn't that?
That's right. That's exactly right. You can always help somebody, as long as you have purpose.
Always someone who is worse off than yourself, then you can always help them. You don't have to be like a big, you don't have to wait until you have a big platform, like, some very famous people who are doing life coaching, but you can start right where you are, isn't it?
Exactly. It's not, I don't think that life coaching is affected by the impact, by the influence, like the large influence that maybe people have, but by the purpose that's inside of yourself for those people.
That's right.
And if it's even just one person that you coach, that is more than enough, because what that person will go on to do, or could very well go off to do, is to impact many, many more people.
That's right.
Well, I think one of the things that Dr. Charles also tells the team is that if it was just for one person, if we only just save one person in our missions or in our crusades, it is well more than worth it, because that one person can go on to impact many more people.
That's right.
So every miracle is a gift. Every salvation is a pleasure, and is more well than worth it, regardless of maybe some of the challenges that we may face on the road, or some of the things.
We have some of the challenges, many.
Yeah, there are many challenges I've realized when you do these things.
Because people are happy to have us, to
Yes.
invite us, and I'm the one who's organizing most of that part, being the international director of the Christ Love Ministries. Solomon is talking about, but so I have a lot of invitations, and for most of them we have to decline because we are so busy and full and all. But the point is, people are happy to have us, but Satan is not happy. So we do encounter some challenges, but we are more than able to overcome them. So it's like, yeah, as you said, it's an easy life in one way, but in there, and it's a lot of work. And it's good that you also like to work. I know some people just like to have their life easy. I don't think
Right.
Christianity is for you then.
Right. No, there's
You
definitely
will encounter
challenges.
challenges, but you need to embrace it because that makes
There's
life exciting, doesn't it?
Yes, yeah, and like you're saying, with all those challenges, we never actually fall short of a challenge. We always go over that challenge. We
Yes,
always we always go to the other side, and like Dr. Charles says to us, is that the other side of a challenge is a great reward,
that's right.
and we see those great rewards count time after time. So when we see the challenges, we actually get excited. Because it could be interesting, it could be very unpredictable, but
Yeah.
but we get excited because we know, okay, at the other side of this challenge there's a good reward, and we're excited to see what that is, and
That's right. So
so
what
we
what can we tell the audience who also want this wonderful life, who also want to experience how to heal the sick, or even they want healing for themselves? I hear that we have some school coming up, right?
yes, we
School,
have a
and
few
also
we
the
have
Power
we have
School and the School of the Spirit. So you want
yes.
to talk about a little bit?
So we have a few different programs or schools that we are having coming up just this year. We have the School of the Spirit that's happening just next month, the
That's
beginning of
right.
next month. That's going to be the first week of June. I think June the 2nd through the
I'm going to
4th.
put in the poster with the address.
Yeah,
So
the
people
June
who don't
2nd through
have
the
a
4th,
school
we're going to be
details.
having the School of Christ, and this is actually going to be the second version that we've done this year. We actually did version 1.0 just a few months prior, and actually we have that for those that want to catch up and watch the School of Christ, the first version of it, because it was so good we couldn't even finish the whole topic. So if you
That's
want
right.
to get version 1.0, you can actually go on to www.psom.org, and you can go into our shop, and you will see all the different products that we have. But School of Christ is one of those, and you can purchase that as well. And then also we have the Power School coming up. The Power School, we're going to be talking about a phenomenal topic. It's going to be called The Secret Place. And basically Dr. Charles is going to delve in for a whole week about the secret place, and how just it's something that I've never heard about before when it comes to church. It is something that I don't want to miss. It's going to actually teach you about yourself more than what you actually know.
That's right.
And there's
It's a
going to be different
hands-on
speakers.
training, so people shouldn't think it's only head knowledge. It's not head knowledge, it's
No,
revelation, and it's hands-on training. So you will see
it's
a lot of
it's
miracles. You can participate online, you can
yep.
also participate in person, but we don't want to miss it. Nobody wants to miss it. And it's an annual, the Power School
It's
of
a
Miracles is annual. We have
power.
it three
Yes,
times a year.
yeah.
So
We have
next time
Power
is
School
coming up in
twice a year.
July. So make sure you make your reservations at powerschool.com or
Yes.
psom.com. That's what it is. So, but
Yeah,
I'm going to put down the
psom.org.
link. So
Yeah, yeah. And so I'm very excited for all those things. We're gonna have special speakers as well, and some other special guests coming in as well. So you guys don't want to miss it. I think that from the power schools that you've attended, that every power school is different. Every power
yeah,
school is very
yeah,
unique, and it is also a priceless time. And
absolutely.
just to spend the week and just to be rebuilt again. It's about
And
generally
marinate,
in marinate.
marinate
Yeah,
in the anointing, in the worship, in the revelations, and to learn hands-on training how to heal the sick, how
yeah.
to do all kinds of things, how to follow basically what Jesus is doing. So if you want
That's
to move to another level, if you're Christian, then you're hungry for more. That's what it is. If you're hungry for more, because that's what helped, of course, myself, and of course, Solomon as well. We were happy with our lives, but we wanted something more, even though coming from different, families, nevertheless, we both had Christian backgrounds. So, but that's just, we didn't want to just that, we wanted to do something more. So if you want something more with your life, you want to come to the Power School, you want to participate either online or preferably in person. But I mean, obviously these shows are being watched all over. So if you're not able to travel to Rhode Island, because that's where it's going to be, then you can participate online. We don't get brownie points for inviting you. We just want the best for you guys. So maybe we should be getting brownie points. I like brownies.
I think so. And I would also actually think, with the Power School, it is, some people would associate it with a Christian event. I actually think that it's good for anybody, regardless of what you believe. If you're looking for self-betterment of any sort, then Power School is a place for you. It just changes the thinking of whatever you're thinking, whatever your belief is, it changes it. And it makes you a better person. I honestly don't like really saying I'm a Christian anymore, because I realize that I don't do a lot of things that Christians do. I don't necessarily fast the way that Christians fast, or I don't necessarily pray the way that Christians pray. But I end up having a good relationship with who I am and who my maker is. That's honestly
anybody, we can just say that, we can just put it this way: anybody who wants more out of life and wants to be more successful in whatever venture you are, you need to come to the Power School. You need to participate either online or go in person. But online is good, person is better.
I think so. You get a close interaction with Dr. Charles, the team, the special speakers. It's a very real moment. It's like going to a concert. You don't want to attend the concert online. You want to go to the concert.
It's a family, isn't it? When you move there, you find that it's a family.
Yes, that's right.
Everybody is very accessible, regardless of status, and we are all family. And there's love there. That's what everybody walks away with: love, revelation, power, hope, joy, life.
Yeah.
All these things that are missing in the world.
And even especially, we do. I know Dr. Charles does mentoring sessions with people that come for a discounted price. Only those that register can get this discounted price. It's a very, very, I would say it's a very valuable thing to get a hold of, because whether it's business or relationship, whatever issues or things that you'd like to get mentorship of, he will sit with you for an allotted time to help you and better you on things that you can do in your specific life. He gets into your specific life and helps you out. So I think that's one of the greatest things that you can do actually while you're there at the Power School or even the School of the Spirit. And we have some other events happening later this year that are to be announced. I know we'll be traveling to a few different places this year, so those things will be exciting and actually announced a little later.
Follow our online or our Facebook pages, because everything is posted there. So it's really hard to remember, as you said. It's just hard to remember all the things.
This is so many things.
Especially with the dates and things like that. But we're gonna be also in Germany, in Hamburg. We're gonna hold that Power School very close there. I hope you're coming, right? You're coming. Right?
I believe I will be coming to that one.
Good.
Yeah.
Okay, so I see there.
So
we always meet in Germany, right?
Yeah, I love Germany. Germany is my favorite place so far. Just amazing people, amazing atmosphere. Hungry people, and if you are from Europe or even from that area, you can come to Hamburg. We'll be having a Power School there.
That's right.
For a time, and it will just be amazing. You cannot miss that one.
That's right.
You cannot miss that.
And that's even sooner than the original Power School.
That will be coming before the original Power School, and the dates will be announced later. On those things. So, but I'm excited. This is just, thank you so much for having me on here. I really appreciate everything.
It has been an absolute honor and a joy. You're such a delight.
Oh, thank you. I likewise. I have to say that your show is phenomenal. I cannot wait to see the new guests and everyone coming on. I'll be coming.
I have a lot of them already recorded, and I'm still working on the editing and things like that. But it's wonderful, and I'm so enjoying making contacts with people. Even if I don't know them in person, I feel like I do know them, because I meet them and they tell tell us their life story, and I never take it for granted, because it's like sharing something out of yourself, out of
Right.
personal. But I know it speaks to a lot of people, and I have been receiving just raving reviews, even from non-Christians. And everybody needs hope these days, and if you could do it, they can do it too. And it doesn't matter. I mean, 60 and above, and of course you're in your 20s, so really age doesn't matter. God can find you at any age, and can take you from good to great. So this has been another edition of the PR show. Thank you for joining us. I hope you're blessed, and I see you next time. God bless you.
See you next time. Bye.